Hey guys, welcome back to Total Tactics FPL. It's Fran here and I'm back with a new video, which is going to be my Game Week 13 team selection. I didn't feel like the need to actually review my Game Week 12. I showed that in my transfer plan video where I had two options, either a transfer towards White or a transfer towards Darwin plus another hit. Obviously in Game Week 12 I got 56 points, so I did get a green arrow towards 38,000. The first time I'm actually in the top 50k this year, so I'm very happy about that. Still though, this is a very, very bad team on paper this week. I have to absolutely admit that. I have triple Newcastle defense on my team, and that will probably suggest to you which option I actually opted for this team selection. Cancelo, of course, is going to be extremely welcome to this week. He's going to be a huge player for me. Some people have actually gone out of Cancelo in the previous week or in prior weeks as well, maybe going to Trent. So I'm quite happy to see maybe, let's say, 85% ownership of Cancelo and maybe benefit from that. As far as Pope, Trippier and Schär, yes, obviously this looks absolutely horrific because there is a strong chance, I would say, that Tottenham are able to score at home, but still a stronger chance that Newcastle keep a clean sheet, in my opinion, then Webster can keep it versus Man City or Neco Williams versus Liverpool. I really think, even looking at the clean sheet odds, Brighton and Nottingham Forest clean sheet odds are actually at single-digit percentages, whereas Newcastle have at least a 20% chance to keep a clean sheet. So it's almost a situation that I'm forced into. And because I don't necessarily see that Ben White is such a significant transfer this week, I have decided to skip that transfer. Instead, I've actually opted to go for this midfield. And as you can see here, I have opted to go for Foden for a hit. And this means that I've gone out of Kane this week. So I am back in the triple Newcastle defense. I am much more backing Foden than someone like Saka or even Trent. And Trent had a huge upside as a transfer in my team because I could have replaced someone like Schär with Trent. And in the future, potentially also had a spot for a Newcastle attacker. But what actually excites me about Foden is I just think he actually has the pure most amount of upside within these 4 weeks specifically. We've seen actually that the Liverpool defense is still very frail. If you look at the West Ham game, look at the chances, I think West Ham really could have scored 2 goals at least. And that's not even counting the penalty. West Ham actually had an XG of 2.5 in that game. So that does show you that Liverpool defense is still very, very frail and still held up by pretty much Alisson's heroics. Also, some of Virgil van Dijk's have returned to form. As far as Foden, though, I do think he just simply has shown fantastic form this year. His expected goal involvements have also risen year on year. And yeah, he was definitely one that was missed on the Game Week 8 wildcard for myself. And then Zaha, Martinelli, and Salah. These are still non-negotiables for me because I think Zaha to Saka doesn't really make sense as a transfer. I know a lot of people are considering this transfer, but I absolutely would not consider it for a hit. The same way I wouldn't really consider a move away from Bowen this week if you are a Bowen owner, because Bowen have such a great game versus Bournemouth at home, and we've seen that West Ham have been relatively good at home as well. So Martinelli, for me, another fantastic transfer. He didn't actually play too many minutes in the PSV game. Saka did actually end up with a small little knock, but I really don't think that should actually stop you from bringing Saka in if that is your preferred choice to move this week. I have also been asked of whether to go for Saka or Martinelli this week. If you are transferring away from Martinelli, I absolutely would not upgrade to Saka. However, if you do have a space to actually incorporate both in your team, then maybe I would consider Martinelli or Saka. And if you're wildcarding, then I would absolutely consider Saka over Martinelli for now. I still think that if you only want to go with one Arsenal attacker, that Saka's probably the one to go for, because at least you have that security blanket of the penalties. As far as Salah, I'm really hoping he steps up this week. This is his chance, obviously, to do well, because I think there might be a chance that Darwin could be substituted. I'll have to make a decision, obviously, based on my forward transfer, but Salah is going to be someone who I'm very keen to put the Vice armband on this week and just hoping for a little bit more involvement versus a much weaker team in Nottingham Forest. So that's going to be my thoughts for the midfield. And as you can see here now, my forward transfer is going to be a hit for Darwin. So you can either interpret the hit to be going for Foden or Darwin, but ultimately I think the combination is exactly what I'm going for. It also leaves me with 1 million in the bank so that I can potentially move away from Zaha to Saka next week, where I think Saka actually has just much more upside, even though Zaha himself has a good game for Southampton. As far as Haaland versus Brighton, this is a great opportunity to still captain Haaland. I really think that it's really not comparable at this point in time. We've seen that he is just that much more explosive than anyone else in FPL, even though Salah has the easier fixture. I might even consider potentially slapping the armband on Darwin in future matchups because of how he's able to actually hog up the ball so much more when he plays in those central positions compared to someone like Salah. And we can see that actually bear out in the underlying stats too in the previous game in Liverpool versus West Ham, even though Salah had a few opportunities in the box. Solanke is actually going to be someone that I play this week, and that means Andreas is on the bench. And obviously, as you can see, and as you've already seen, I just think it makes more sense because Solanke still has that security blanket of getting penalties. We know how effective that has been so far. If you look at someone like Mitrovic over the course of the season, he's had almost half his hauls purely because of penalties, and in the last 2 weeks specifically. So that's kind of the benefit of going for Solanke. I think Andreas obviously also did not really step up when it came to the opportunities he had in open play in Aston Villa. He did really kind of scuff most of them. And Haaland, of course, is just someone who's safe and secure, and I think still a fantastic captain option for this week, specifically because Man City is such a lethal team, and so many teams have struggled to actually deal with them. I mean, you can even hear it in De Zerbi's press conferences whenever he speaks about Man City. He clearly thinks that they're at a different level to most of the teams in the Premier League, including Brighton. So that's going to be my team selection this week. I hope you guys have a wonderful week ahead. It is a -4, the first of the season, so let's hope that pays off, but I hope you guys have a wonderful week.